You know that, right? You know that you are not just living life, you are creating it. That every moment, every experience, every obstacle is not happening to you but through you. Most people believe they are separate from the world around them, that their thoughts and emotions are internal, while reality is something external, something that happens outside of them. But what if this is the greatest illusion of all? Quantum physics, ancient spiritual wisdom, and the very nature of consciousness all point to one inescapable truth. The observer is the observed, and today you will uncover what this truly means. Because once you grasp this concept, not just intellectually, but experientially, you will unlock the ability to reshape your reality at will. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will have taken the first step toward breaking free from the illusion and stepping into your true power. For centuries, both spiritual teachers and scientists have hinted at the same mind-bending truth. Reality is not something fixed. It is not something happening outside of you. It is something being shaped by you in real time. Let's start with the science. In 1801, physicist Thomas Young conducted an experiment that would change the way we understand reality forever, the double-slit experiment. Here's what happened. When electrons were fired through two slits without observation, they behaved like waves, spreading out into multiple possibilities at once. But the moment they were observed, they collapsed into a single fixed pattern, behaving like particles instead of waves. In simple terms, the very act of observation changed the outcome. This isn't just an abstract scientific concept. It means that your awareness, your focus, your attention, your conscious observation is actively shaping the reality you experience. And if that's true, what does it mean for your life, your relationships, your success, your entire existence? This brings us to one of the greatest spiritual teachings of all time. Jiddu Krishnamurti, one of the most profound spiritual thinkers of the 20th century, once said, "The observer is the observed." At first, this might sound like a paradox, but let's break it down. When you feel fear and you see fear in others, is it because they are fearful, or is it because fear exists within you? When you believe people can't be trusted and you find yourself surrounded by deception, is it because they are untrustworthy, or is it because your perception is tuned into distrust? When you see love, beauty, and kindness in the world, is it because the world is inherently good, or is it because you are attuned to love, beauty, and kindness within yourself? Here's the revelation. You are not separate from what you observe. Your reality is a mirror of your own internal state, and once you become aware of this, you gain the ability to shift it. Now that you understand that you are not separate from what you observe, the next question is, how do you step into the observer and begin reshaping reality? Step 1. Awareness. Watch. Without reacting, most people live in reaction mode. Something happens, they react. Someone says something, they react. A thought arises, they react. But what if instead of reacting, you simply observed? Try this. The next time you feel triggered by a comment, a situation, a negative thought, pause. Instead of reacting, step back and watch. Ask yourself, who is the one watching this reaction? This simple act breaks identification with the emotion or thought. It creates a gap between you and your automatic responses, and in that gap lies your power. The mind is conditioned to repeat patterns. If you constantly observe lack, your mind continues to create lack. If you constantly observe limitations, your mind reinforces limitations. But what happens when you pause and shift your observation? Instead of seeing lack, you observe abundance. Instead of seeing fear, you observe courage. Instead of seeing limitation, you observe infinite possibility. And the more you do this, the more your reality begins to shift. Accordingly, step 3, the quantum leap. Choosing a new observation now that you understand awareness and the pause. The final step is this. Consciously choose what you observe. You are not just watching life happen, you are making it happen. Every moment you are tuning into a specific version of reality. And the question is, which version are you observing? The version where you are stuck, or the version where you are limitless? The version where you are struggling, or the version where you are thriving? The version where you are in fear, or the version where you are in love? Because both exist. The only difference is which one you are tuned into. Most people go through life believing that the world is something that happens outside of them, that their emotions are natural responses to external events, and that their circumstances are for the most part beyond their control. But now you know this is an illusion. Reality is not fixed. It is being shaped moment by moment by how you observe it. And this is the greatest secret to changing your life. Because if the observer is the observed, it means you don't need to force changes in the external world. You only need to change how you observe it. And when your perception changes, the world changes with it. But if this is true, why do most people struggle to change their reality? The reason most people feel stuck in repetitive patterns is simple. They are identified with their emotions, thoughts, and beliefs. What does this mean? It means that when they feel fear, anxiety, or doubt, they don't realize that they are simply observing a mental state. Instead, they become that state. This is how identification works. You feel anger and believe you are an angry person. You feel fear and believe the threat is real. You experience failure and believe you are incapable. The problem, as long as you are identified with your thoughts and emotions, you cannot change them. You can only change something when you are outside of it, and this is exactly what the observer state allows. An external, neutral, unattached perspective. The good news, you can learn to access this state right now. Now that you understand that your reality is a reflection of how you observe it, how can you start shifting your perception in a practical way? Here are 3 powerful steps to tune into the observer state and begin shaping your reality consciously. Step 1. Dissolve identification. Stop being controlled by the mind. The first step is simple but extremely powerful. Stop and observe your own thoughts. The mind is always active, creating stories, judgments, and automatic reactions. But the key realization is you are not the mind. Here's a practical exercise. Close your eyes and allow any thought to arise. Instead of engaging, just observe. Ask yourself, who is the one observing these thoughts? The moment you do this, something shifts. You realize that there is a space between you and your thoughts. That space is the observer state. And the more you practice this separation, the more you break free from automatic identification and start seeing reality for what it truly is. Now that you've learned how to disidentify from the mind, the next step is to expand your perception to notice the hidden patterns shaping your reality. Try this powerful exercise. Take a notebook and write down what recurring thought and emotional patterns show up in your life. Ask yourself, do these patterns exist only in my mind, or do they also show up in my external reality? Observe the connection between what you feel internally and what manifests externally. You will see something shocking. The same struggles, frustrations, or limitations you experience are not coincidences. They are direct reflections of what you are observing and believing within yourself. And when you become aware of these patterns, you gain power over them. Step 3. Tune into a new frequency, choosing the reality you want to live in. Now that you are no longer identified with your thoughts and you've recognized the patterns governing your reality, it's time for the most important part. Consciously choosing what you observe. Here's the key. Whatever you focus on grows. If you spend your days focusing on lack, scarcity, and fear, your mind will keep reinforcing those perceptions, and your reality will reflect them back to you. But the opposite is also true. If you start observing opportunities instead of limitations, your mind will begin to reinforce that new perception, and your reality will align with the new frequency. Here's a simple exercise to train this shift. Choose one area of your life where you feel blocked. Instead of focusing on the problem, force yourself to only see possibilities and solutions. Do this consciously every day until your perception changes automatically. At first, it may feel artificial, but over time, this reprograms your mind to perceive a new reality. And the most powerful part, once your perception changes, your external reality starts shifting automatically. Now that you've learned the 3 steps of the shift, how do you know that you've truly entered the observer state? Here are 3 clear signs that you're seeing reality differently. You feel calmer and more clear-headed. Your thoughts and emotions no longer dominate you. You notice invisible patterns. You start to recognize how your beliefs and perceptions create your reality. You become less reactive. What used to emotionally trigger you now seems neutral or insignificant. If you've noticed any of these signs, congratulations, you are no longer just a character in the game of life. You have become the conscious observer, and that means you now have the ability to choose how you experience reality. Now that you understand that the observer is the observed, and you've learned how to step into the observer state, you might be asking yourself, if my observati